Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show.
Welcome to the sadness, ladies and gentlemen. We are back with what feels like the most eerily similar vibes, Nate, from the Denver Broncos. I'm your host, Liv Moods, joined by Nate Jackson. We're here every single week delivering you full-time Broncos coverage, all things NFL, and this is going to be our off-field post-game reaction live show where we're going to talk about after every Broncos game. No matter where they're playing, no matter what night they play, we're going to be live talking to you guys about what the hell did we just watch. And boy, Nate, off the top, if you had to describe that Broncos game in one word, what would that word be?
Anemic. Well, I'm going to have to add some more context.
That's all right. I usually just say that when BK's here because he'll say he'll write a 2,000-word essay.
He can't say one word.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a cruel
So that's
game
just my that's my way of telling him keep it short and sweet.
Yeah.
He never listens, but
I would say familiar. I think you did a good job with that.
Very
because what we've been witnessing with the Broncos over the last 7 or 8 years is an offense that's not carrying its load there. And what's so funny?
I don't know.
So
my head might be in the gutter.
The offense couldn't carry their load.
That's right.
And for anyone who thought this was just going to be unveiled as some new era in Broncos football with Bo Nix and Sean Payton, they're going to march up and down the field on offense and put up 35 points. I mean, in the preseason, they averaged over 30 points a game on offense. For everyone who thought, and I had a hope maybe that this could happen as well, but it ain't going to be like that. And Bo Nix clearly showed that he's a rookie. He was inaccurate at times. He made some weird decisions at times, some really bad interceptions, threw the ball into danger zones, threw into the crucial moments, triple coverage to Courtland Sutton, that last pick. I mean, this was a rookie quarterback showing that he was maybe a little bit rattled by the moment. And
we did mention how hard it is to play in Seattle. So there is that element as well. But yeah, definitely some rookie mistakes going on.
Yeah, I used the Dumb and Dumber analogy, and you've never seen the film.
Haven't.
Still haven't heard of the Beastie Boys.
Haven't.
We're working on all that. But those aside, yeah, he was rattled by the 12th man. It was really loud there. And every completion they had was just dinky dunky, rinky dinky,
very dinky dunky.
They gotta push the ball beyond the sticks. And defense kept them in it for a while, made some big plays, 2 safeties, right? Special teams kept them in it with some turnovers and stuff like that. But ultimately, to me, it was the Broncos offense not being able to push the ball down the field and score points. And that's going to be a problem going forward.
I mean, the fact that we had 1 touchdown scored and it was very late in the game. And other than that, the points on the board were field goals and safeties, 2 safeties, which woohoo. I will say, and I do think it's important to give credit where it's due. In comparison to week 1 of last season, I do feel like this Vance Joseph-led defense looks way more prepared. Yep. They looked like the Broncos defense that we can typically rely on where, even if our offense is falling apart, we do. And for many years, as bad as our offenses have been, we still have had a top 10 defense most seasons. So congratulations to the defense and to Vance Joseph, because if you remember how they started last season, very different. It took them almost the whole first half of the season to get that defense even competitive. So have to give credit where it's due. The defense definitely looked way more prepared. They were playing very competitive ball. I was very happy with the defense that I saw. In regards to the offense, yeah, he did look a little rattled, which I think is surprising to me because I think the 3 words that I used to describe him from preseason were cool, calm, collected.
Yep.
And he definitely looked a little not that, which again,
not
very
that.
different. And this is why people say you can't get too excited about preseason. You can't put too much pressure. And Nate, I have to give you credit. You did say we can't make the lights too bright. Like we cannot add so much pressure on this guy that we expect him to completely turn this program around when there's a lot of different things that have to go right for this team. So
the crazy thing is, Liv, today in this game, the other things did go right for this offense to actually be put in a good position, right? The defense was playing well at the beginning, and they did kind of bend a little bit towards it as the game wore on, and probably gave a few too many yards on the ground. held Geno Smith to like 150 yards, but they gave up 150 yards on the ground. And Kenneth Walker II looked pretty good as the game wore on. But the defense can only do so much. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm always harder on the offense when they're not holding up their end of the bargain, and people are like, no, the defense couldn't make the plays at the end of the game to hold them. Well, they did at the beginning, and you have to take advantage of that as a team, and the Broncos weren't able to do that. Also, though, you didn't have offensive players making a lot of plays after they had the ball in their hands. Courtland Sutton seemed like he was just out there. I mean, there was no real feel for things out there between Bo and Courtland.
There wasn't chemistry.
There wasn't. Courtland
chemistry.
Sutton is your number one receiver. He's got to be a guy who's a tone setter, who gets out there spiritually, energetically, gets Bo Nix going in the moment with a special catch. It doesn't always have to be perfect, but make a special catch, Courtland, and get this team going. And there was none of those today. Devon Bailey had like 8 catches. That's a bright spot.
Yes.
Even though they were all like for 4 yards, 6 yards, 7 yards. Okay, not his fault. Everything was underneath. Devon Bailey looks like the replacement to Tim Patrick, right? That they were hoping for. So unfortunately, I know, super sad face. But I don't know why they didn't hand the ball off to Javonte Williams more and kind of keep him.
I am wondering the same because I had him to score a touchdown.
Right? I mean, but like that,
I'm curious.
The first carry he had like 9 or 10 yards, and he had another carry which would have opened up, but he kind of got tripped up. But it seemed as if their philosophy was to go back and forth between Javonte and Jaleel, and Jaleel clearly is the favorite right now to get opportunities to make plays. That's what I'm saying. I don't think so.
I don't think so either because I had that in my brain, and of course, selfishly, I had it because I was like, I need Williams in the end zone. I have an anytime touchdown, so I need him to. They need to use him more. But I did feel like relying as much on Jaleel as they did, it did show that Sean Payton, I think, is favoring him right now. Yeah, which is fine. But I don't know if I'm not Sean Payton. I'm not a head coach in the NFL, so take it with a grain of salt.
Not yet.
I'm not yet a head coach in the NFL. Yeah. But I did feel like they relied on Jaleel a little too much and didn't take advantage of the powerhouse that we know that Javonte Williams can be.
Yeah, and I'll tell you also about Jaleel. It seemed as if every time he was in the game, you kind of knew he was going to get the ball. And so is this
little cocky guy.
Well, no, not him.
Kidding.
Not him, but the other team. They see Jaleel McLaughlin come in. They know they're ready for this little stuff that he's doing. They're ready for the screen passes. They're ready for the stuff to get Jaleel the ball. And it seems like there's certain packages for Jaleel when he's on the field. They clearly want to get him the ball. Yep. He is a playmaker, but forcing him the ball to me is not going to work. And Bo Nix, like nothing was pushed down the field. Greg Dulcich not really involved much. Marvin Mims on offense, not much. Cortland had like 2 catches. So
were there coaching issues in this game?
Coaching issues. I mean,
it's so hard to say. I know that's kind of a really tough question to ask.
But I think ultimately this offense just has a long way to go. A long way to go.
Come on, Nate.
It's just a fact. And you know what?
Hurt my feelings.
And the offense might be still a few playmakers away from being a sort of Super Bowl caliber, playoff caliber type of team. Right now, who's your playmaker on offense?
If you watch this game, nobody.
Right. And look, things can get better. They'll improve. This is a good defense in Seattle. This head coach, 37-year-old guy, Mike McDonald, is a defensive-minded guy. This defense is game, and they're ready to go. And this is a rookie quarterback. None of the rookie quarterbacks really look great today.
I was just going to say that. I think that, yes, the Chicago Bears got a win, which is super great. Congratulations to Caleb Williams. Woohoo. But none of the rookie quarterbacks today really had like this standout performance. So the only reason I wanted to bring that up is because I did mention a few weeks ago taking Bo Nix for Offensive Rookie of the Year. That's not dead. Okay, everybody? So just relax. You don't
think it's dead? I'm just kidding.
So my biggest haters in the room with me, just so you guys know.
Bo needs to you were talking about him being rattled and stuff.
Yeah.
But his face, he didn't look his face looked calm.
He'll figure it out.
But he was inaccurate. And you didn't see that at all in preseason.
No,
you didn't see
that's
that
why
at all.
That's why I'm kind of shivering when you say that word, because I felt like that was his upside.
Yeah. But then there's also like this nuance to the inaccuracies where he's hoping the receiver sees and feels what he's seeing in the coverage and throttles something down and opens up his hips and doesn't run the post the way you're supposed to always run the post, 7 steps go in. But Bo's thinking, okay, I see the safety over here, and I'm not gonna lead him into where the post typically would be. I'm gonna keep it out here, And Cortland doesn't see that. He just runs the post and it's a shitty ball because Bo's actually trying to throw him away from coverage. But what Bo needs to do is just not throw it to Cortland on that coverage. There are other guys who are going to be open. And so, look, the environment, very intimidating, very loud. First game, he hasn't seen an NFL first team defense yet. He hasn't seen one. That's a good defense run by really good coaches who wanted to show out for their new head coach at home in the first, game outside of the Pete Carroll era in 14 or 15 years. There's a lot working against them there. But we were all hopeful that the Broncos could go get a victory. And they had a chance early to kind of put their foot on them a little bit. Because the momentum was there.
Yeah.
We
started the game off with a sack and a pick.
Yes.
Those were the 2 first plays of the game.
Beautiful.
They worked in the favor of the Denver Broncos.
And they had to settle for a field goal there.
I mean, that's just so talk about my boner disappearing.
Whee!
I mean, come on.
Yeah.
You start the game with a sack and a pick and you have to settle on a damn field goal. What are we doing?
Yeah.
You know what we're doing? We're doing typical Broncos things.
Yeah.
And doesn't that just, nails on a chalkboard? I hate it.
And what does that really like? Why? Why? Because you switch the owner, you switch the quarterbacks a million times, you switch the coaches.
Yeah.
But the offense actually looked the same today as it did last year, as it did the year before that.
Oh yeah.
As it did the year before that.
We just had a comment that said it was a tough watch. Yeah. It was.
Yeah. When really everything is like a 3-yard gain, it's annoying as shit. When you're a wide receiver or a pass catcher in an offense like that, it's super annoying, especially when you don't break a tackle and make a big play out of it. Do you remember one broken tackle this game? So that's a huge thing as well.
I didn't stand up on my feet and scream and holler in a positive way one time during this game. It felt like I was drinking a flat soda. The soda had been I cracked open a big old Fanta soda.
Speaking of soda, what about a Jarritos?
Cheers.
Can you get this camera over here?
What are those?
You don't know Beastie Boys. You don't know Dumb and Dumber. Can I get this camera on me? I want to show the Jarrito. You can't? Oh man.
Oh, the cameras are down. Anyway,
Jarritos.
he's drinking a.
You don't know what a Jarritos is?
I don't.
It's like a Mexican fruity soda.
Also, did you know that if you go to Chipotle, you can get a Mexican Coke and a Mexican Sprite?
Wow.
But I just thought it was just like a bottled Sprite, but it's called on the app like Mexican Sprite.
Because it's different. It's made with like real sugar.
Oh.
And so it's like supposed to be better for you and taste a little better.
Oh.
Yeah, the Mexican Coke versus like there's just the bottle of like the plastic bottle. It's a different product, Liv.
I feel like I live under a rock.
Well, I mean, we all live under our own rocks.
I just have a really big rock.
Yes.
Like Patrick Star.
I don't know who that is.
You've never watched SpongeBob?
Not really.
Okay, so the next time that
you've never watched a child's cartoon?
I mean, you have children.
He's not SpongeBob age yet.
That's true. And SpongeBob, actually, there's a few things in SpongeBob that as I'm older, I'm like, it's a bit inappropriate. But when I was younger, I mean, I love SpongeBob.
Yeah,
I still to this day watch it.
Right.
Anyway.
Well, your favorite movie is She's the Man.
Good memory.
Amanda Bynes?
Good memory.
Are you worried about her?
I am very.
She's not doing well.
I'm not to Amanda Bynes worry level yet with Bo Nix, but I could get there fast.
Yeah.
I could get there.
If Bo Nix starts getting weird plastic surgeries and
then it's a problem.
Yeah.
Then we gotta freaking panic. It's time to freaking panic.
So let's get back to Bo Nix and what it's going to look like going forward for him here.
Yeah.
Because the whole point of drafting Bo Nix was because you believe that he's going to improve and be the type of quarterback in the future. Not on game one.
Right.
Not week one. Not week one in his rookie year. He's not trying to get to the Hall of Fame this week. What he's trying to do is improve every week, every day, along with his teammates and build something special. Realistically, is this year going to be the year for the Broncos? Probably not, right?
Okay.
Probably not.
How many years do I need to wait?
Well,
I've had it.
How many are you willing to wait?
At this point, I don't want to wait any more years.
Okay.
I'm done. I've had it. You know what? I'm a very impatient person, but I would like to think I've been pretty patient with the Denver Broncos.
Broncos fans also been spoiled for many years because the excellence was pretty consistent. You won a Super Bowl in 2015, won a back-to-back Super Bowls in the late 90s, and of course, we're always good and in the mix, the Payton years and even Shanahan years, never a bad team, never a team, who was like losing more than they were winning.
That's fair. I do think other fan bases do get irritated by Broncos fans that complain about our losing seasons or the fact that we can't find a solid quarterback or whatever, because we have had good years as Bronco fans. But you have to understand, I'm a 98 baby. I know there was a Super Bowl pretty much as a newborn. I actually got really scared. My dad screamed really loud when we won the Super Bowl, and I was like freshly out the womb because I was born January 20th.
So was my dad.
Super Bowl is like
same birthday. Yeah. Cool.
Hi, Mr. Dad. Happy almost birthday. Not really, but when it is almost our birthday, I will make sure I say happy birthday to you. But I was January 20th. That means I was like a month old when the Super Bowl, like less than a month old when the Broncos won the Super Bowl in 98.
Yeah.
So he screamed and he got all excited and it scared me very bad. Apparently I cried very hard.
Okay.
And then again, we won my senior year of high school. So you have to understand, I do have a little bit of recency negative bias because the era of Broncos that I've been able to watch as like a grown up where I can really watch the game. And I also feel like the way we watch football as just fans becomes very different when you become a sports bettor or you work in sports media. Like I watch under a way more critical lens, whereas when I was a fan, it was just like, sucks, we'll get them next time. And now I'm like, no, get your together. And I have had it. I'm done messing around. I'm sweating.
Again, it might take a minute here or so to turn it around here, but it's not just on Bo. You talked about coaching, right?
Mm-hmm.
Bo dropped back to pass and actually probably took off a couple times too, but he was 26 of 42. So he had 42 attempts. You don't want your rookie quarterback throwing the ball 42 times in Seattle against that team. You don't. Now I understand at the end they were trying to come back and they were throwing the ball, but there was an imbalance from the run to pass ratio.
Mm-hmm.
I think they should have ridden Javonte Williams a little more.
I agree.
Committed to the run a little bit more. It's not like the Seattle Seahawks offense was kicking their ass early in the game, and it was only late when they kind of pulled away a little bit and made it a necessity to try to throw to catch up.
Why didn't they use Javonte? What would be your guess?
He's kind of enamored with the Jaleel McLaughlin sort of Joker role. Yeah. But I think maybe this game will bring him down to earth on that one a little bit. Jaleel, let me check it for Jaleel. Jaleel was pretty active. He had 10 carries, 27 yards, so 2.7 yard average. And he also had five catches for 1 yard. So that's 0.2 yards per reception for Jaleel. So clearly, the gadget or whatever with Jaleel just wasn't effective today.
Mm-mm.
And they kept going back to it. Cortland Sutton had 12 targets, 4 catches, 38 yards. Like I was saying, just not on the same page with Bo Nix, and so the chemistry that's required to be a potent offense, to actually be moving the football and scoring points, you need a receiver and multiple receivers on the same page with the quarterback, and that wasn't there today.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it was the noise, it was just the inexperience. They haven't done it enough together. Cortland seemed to me to be a little bit not there. I don't know. I mean,
there just was I think you had already said this, but there was just a lack of chemistry. It felt like there was no solid communication between the two of them. It felt like there was a disconnect. That's probably the word I would use. There was a disconnect between Sutton and Bo Nix in this one.
It's hard when you go into an environment like that where you
Mm-hmm.
need strong leadership. You need someone to bring everybody to them and say, all right, like, stay with me here, guys. This
and
is
if it's not Sutton, then
it's
who
crazy.
Is it?
It's like CU in Nebraska yesterday. Like they go into the Hornets nest,
crazy,
or the Lions Den or whatever. Like you got to have leadership and be together to endure that. But it's also very empowering when you do.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Shanahan used to say, "There's no better sound than hearing 70,000 people fall silent." And that's what happens when you go on the road and win. Is you shut all these people up.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a beautiful feeling, but you need to manage it and have leadership and stuff like that. So when your quarterback is a rookie and he's never been in the situation before, and obviously, there are a bunch of grown men here who play professional football and have been doing it for longer than he has. He goes into this moment. How empowered does he feel to be the leader? How overcome and overwhelmed is he at the moment? Is he inside of himself? Does he have like full control of himself? And clearly he didn't today, because he was very Bo Nix-esque with some of the throws he was missing, and some of the decisions he was making. And so that environment really penetrated him in a way that made him come on.
Sorry. Didn't realize you brought your toddler to work. Yeah.
They really rammed it up in there,
Yeah, I'm sorry. There's just something about football lingo that could just sometimes it just really sets me off.
Penetrated the A gap. And so he just,
do with that what you will.
This is going to be a learning experience for Bo.
I agree. So what we see a lot of times in week 1, whether it's how the lines will be set for week 2 from a betting perspective, how fans will react, how the futures market starts to change, because again, the underdogs are typically barking in week 1, and sometimes they're not. I think there was a lot. And also, by the way, if you don't know what the NFL witching hour is, it's called the fourth quarter, and it's where all of your bets go to die, because whatever the game looks like, I took the Panthers plus 3.5 today.
Remember, I told you the Saints were going to be good. Took the Panthers.
Remember when I said my largest hater was in the room? Yes, I stand by that statement.
You were close. I think they only lost by 38.
Anyway, I took the Panthers plus 3.5. And my point in that is I am going to severely overreact and say that they're never going to win another football game this whole season.
I don't think there's an overreaction.
Oh.
I don't think they're very good.
Oh.
I wouldn't bet on them again.
Yeah,
not until they prove it.
Yeah, I won't. That was pretty bad today, ladies and gentlemen. I am willing to take my L's like a champ. Panthers plus 3.5 was maybe the stupidest bet you could have possibly placed today.
Yeah.
Stupidest. So there's a lot of all of this to say. In week 1, we typically overreact. We see something that happens, or we see a bad quarterback performance, or we see an upset. For example, I think another team that you could severely overreact over is the Bengals. And while there could be a lot of things that the Bengals need to fix to be a force to be reckoned with this season, does it mean they're going to be that horrible every week? I don't know. I think there's just typically overreactions in week 1. There's going to be Broncos fans that feel like it's doomsday, that feel like we are back where we started. This is horrible. We're not going to be good at all. What would you say, Nate, to Broncos fans that are on the verge of overreacting and feel like there is no hope for the Denver Broncos? Would that be an overreaction to feel that way?
To feel that there was no hope?
Yeah.
Yes, it would be an overreaction.
Okay.
Like you said, week 1, rookie quarterback, Sean Payton getting a feel for what Bo can do in a game. The defense played pretty well, I thought.
They played great.
Bent a little bit towards as the game wore on, and Riley Moss is going to be a problem going forward. He had 12 tackles. That's not good when your corner has 12 tackles. That means they're going that way. They're going over there. Now, yes, it's good that he's making tackles.
For sure.
But they're going to be picking on Riley, okay? And so I'm not saying that he played poorly. I'm just saying that he's also inexperienced, and that was a huge moment. And there were moments where, they intentionally went that way when they needed a big play. But the special teams showed up, had some big plays. Defense had some big plays. Up front, they look better. And then offensively, they just have to find their rhythm. And this is a Sean Payton issue as well, and it might take some time. But you look at his pedigree, you look at the success he's had. To me, it is a more intelligent football team, but it did feel like the same old problem today. And that's an offense that can't put points on the board, especially in the first half, especially when they are put in position to do so after a turnover. You got to get in the end zone. And I think the Broncos have to find the offensive player on their team who is going to be that guy for them.
Yeah.
Who is your end zone or red zone warrior? It should be Courtland Sutton. And today, Courtland wasn't that guy. For whatever reason, he didn't feel like, to me, he was ready for this moment to grab it by the you know what,
by the cahoots,
and take it.
Yeah.
And he didn't do that.
Nope.
And so aside from Cortland, who else is a receiver or the tight end who's going to do that? Josh Reynolds is the new guy in town. Marvin Mims is young. Devon Bailey had 8 catches or whatever he had. Maybe he's the new guy. But this is a young offense trying to find their identity, and Bo Nix clearly was a rookie today. And but no, I don't think hope is lost. I think hope is found.
We have found some hope.
And the Pittsburgh Steelers coming to town next week.
That's right. And we actually do have a clip that is ready to play and fire up of, we just heard from Coach Nate Jackson.
That's right.
Mr. Nate Jackson giving us his feedback on not losing hope, not overreacting in week 1. We don't want to overreact. But I think we've got a clip of Sean Payton, head coach Sean Payton, talking a little bit about what we just witnessed. So we can cue that up and get that ready to go. I don't know if that's
just some early impressions coming off the field. One of the things that we felt was important in this game offensively was, early down efficiency, and I think we really struggled there. It led to some longer yardage situations. I didn't feel like we ran the ball particularly well enough, not near consistently enough, and there's more stress obviously that falls on the quarterback. But our third downs, the numbers aren't going to be great. I haven't seen them yet, but I just know based on the distances we were operating from, it was a game where you felt the momentum shift. First half, second half, and I've just finished telling the team there's not many games where that momentum doesn't swing towards each team. It's pretty common, and then getting it back as quickly as possible is important. We saw a little bit more tempo from them offensively to get their offense going, and in the end, we were short. We didn't score enough. We had some opportunities early. We get the early turnover. We end up settling for a field goal. So I'm sure there'll be a lot we have to coach up after looking at the tape.
Oh, yeah, there is. A lot to coach up. I do have a question for you in regards to Sean Payton. You mentioned a few weeks back that you were worried that maybe the public, mostly me because I'm a loudmouth, was maybe getting a little too excited about Bo Nix a little too early. Just because he is a rookie, you don't want to set the bar too high. There's, this is a hard job. There's going to be those rookie mistakes. There's going to be things he's got to grow through. We don't want to put too much pressure too early. Do you think even this much that Sean Payton naming a rookie a captain was also maybe too much pressure?
I mean, yeah, that's a good question. I mean, the captain thing with Bo Nix it's hard to say.
Because I'm not saying it was a bad idea, but was it just something that maybe applied extra?
Traditionally, the team elects their captains. So we would actually write them down on a piece of paper and then pass it.
Do you think that's how
pass
Sean
the
Payton
Dutchie to the left-hand side? Do you know that song? Pass the Dutchie to the left-hand side.
I know. Slide to the left.
That's not it.
Slide to the right. Crisscross.
Yep. Nope.
Okay.
Nope. That must have been on She's the Man.
It's the cha-cha slide.
Okay. No, we would write down the captains who we're choosing and then pass it to the side, and then the coaches would tally it up and then announce who the captains were. The question, though, was Bo Nix actually elected a captain by his teammates, or did they cook the books to make him the captain? Did they actually...
Doesn't Sean Payton kind of strike you as the guy that's like, yeah, that's cute that you guys used to do it that way, but I'm the captain now?
Well, I mean, I think it's not just Sean Payton, but in the past, I talked to some guys who believe that the coaches changed the results a little bit for the guys that they wanted to be the captains.
Mm-hmm.
For example, Will Lutz is a captain. Did people actually vote for Will Lutz? Maybe they did a special teamer and blah, 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 blah. But maybe they voted for Jarrett Stidham. And then they counted it up and they're like, well, we can't have Stiddy. We got to have Bo.
Can't have Stiddy as the captain.
Big picture, your question about too much pressure too soon. You have to have been prepared for this to be the result. If you're ready to go, put that pressure on them and you know what it is, then you are also ready to suck. You're ready to fucking suck this year. And that might be what's happening here, and we might have to endure it. Now, the crappy thing would be if he sucked so bad and it was like 0-7, And then it's like, okay, well, what have we done? Now do we put in Jarrett Stidham if the Broncos are literally 0-7? Or do you let him ride it out?
Do you think we're going to go 0-7?
I don't.
Okay, good.
I don't. But that offense right there that we just watched sucked.
Could go 0-7 if they don't figure it out.
It was not good.
No.
There was some Garbo time at the end there, that touchdown. They were playing bend, don't break. We were up 2 touchdowns here. So other than that touchdown, it wasn't good at all.
Mm-mm.
And so I think there is a concern now about, the readiness of this offense to go in week in and week out and score points. You got to score points. Now, Pittsburgh Steelers are coming in. They're probably not going to score a ton of points. It might look a lot similar to that game there, but even fewer points by the opposition. But the Broncos have to get in the end zone. You have to score touchdowns in football, and the Broncos haven't done that in a long fucking time.
And TJ Watt's coming to town, just for the record. And I don't know if you watched his performance today, but
yeah,
the dude,
scary.
He must have been off some C4 or something because he was going buck. All right. Is that a performance enhancer? Do they consider that kind of stuff?
Like pre-workout?
Yeah.
I don't think it's a performance. It depends on what's in it. Sometimes there's stuff in it that you don't really realize.
C4 turns me into a rabid, ravenous beast.
You take C4 before working out?
No, I took C4 one time before I danced at a TCU football game, and I thought my heart was going to fly out of my throat.
Yeah.
I was petrified. I had to go sit in the tunnel. I thought I was going to die.
Yeah, there's a lot of
so I'm not big on that.
Scary chemicals in those things.
Yeah, my dad takes one that's called Bucked Up. I'm like, yo,
Bucked Up.
I don't think you need all that to go to Choose Fitness.
There's one called Total War that people take.
I mean, come on, that's insane.
Yeah.
Anyway, TJ Watt was off the shits today, and he's coming to Denver next weekend. So I'm not sure our offense really has a lightened load. I know in terms of the offense that they'll be up against, in terms of can they outscore the Steelers?
Yeah.
I think they're in a better position to do so with a team like the Steelers versus a team like the Seahawks. But that defense, that Pittsburgh defense, is not playing. They will F around with this offense. And wait, how's it say? No, if we keep
effing with the people
we keep effing around, we're gonna find out. That's what I was trying to say. But.
Yeah, there's ways to kind of deal with a guy like TJ Watt.
How do you deal with him?
Well, you double team him. Yeah, you trip him. You put Visine in his orange juice.
So you kill him?
Gives him the shits. No.
Oh, I was like, oh my gosh, that just took a turn.
You poison him.
I was gonna say, like, whoa. Well, it appears we'll get Nate's continues thoughts on the offense after we hear from Sean Payton. We've got a clip of Sean Payton talking about Bo Nix and this offense following that Seattle Broncos game. Seattle's Broncos loss for the Denver Broncos. So let's check out what Sean Payton has to say about this offense.
Did you think Bo was a little jittery early and then finally
No.
into it?
No, I mean, I didn't. I thought he seemed calm, poised. I thought that part of it, he was, I felt like he was very comfortable and ready.
How have you seen him sort of handle the adversity he has faced and how do you...
Yeah, look, I don't know how many balls we dropped. And so I've said this before, for any quarterback playing, we've got to be more effective running the football. We'll see the rushing. If you take away his scrambling yards, I think we're like somewhere 60 yards rushing to their 140. So not nearly good enough.
Don't say.
Yeah, make some good points there.
The
stuff he was talking about earlier, his earlier clip about third down conversions, they were 5 of 18 on third down. Not good.
Not efficient.
Not efficient. And it's because it was third and super long because first down wasn't working. And so, everything's always connected for an offense. It's not just like, oh, look at this one stat. Well, they're all kind of feeding off each other.
Check this out.
And so when you don't pick up yards on first down, you become more one-dimensional, and then third down comes around and it's third and long, and then the defense can kind of pin their ears back and come after you. I thought it was interesting that he said there right there that Bo looked poised and all that stuff.
Because I disagree.
He was inaccurate, but there were some drops, and he's clearly, Sean Payton clearly, in my estimation there, listening to what he was saying, clearly is not wanting to be critical of his rookie quarterback because he was expecting a level of imperfection from him. What he needs is the motherfuckers around him to pick him up and make a special play, because they're not doing that.
Right.
They are not doing anything special out there. This guy, this rookie, is not going to be able to do it himself.
Right.
It's not going to be a perfect game.
Right.
It's not going to be clean. He's going to make some mistakes. You guys, the veterans, the dude we're paying a bunch of money to, the dude we restructured, the dude we brought in to do this and that, you guys make a fucking play. And when the obvious thing hits you in the ground, in the hands, and hits the ground, what does that do? It demoralizes an offense. It stalls you out. You punt. You get on. You know what I mean? So there's little moments where you can help a rookie quarterback.
Yeah.
And they didn't do that today.
Bars by Mr. Jackson, by Nathaniel.
It's Nathan.
Well, I think Nathaniel
Is
has
better.
a little more swag.
What are you trying to say?
Well,
About
I think you know what I'm trying to say.
You trying to say my parents gave me the wrong name?
You actually said a little while ago that you thought Nathaniel's were dorks.
I did. Yeah. I'm a Nathan. I'm a Nathan.
Okay, well, Nathan's serious.
That's right.
That was bars. I think you're right. I think that in the way that Sean Payton was just discussing Bo Nix in this offense, it did sound like he went into this game expecting Bo Nix to go under 200.5 passing yards, to maybe have a turnover or two, to not look as great as he did in preseason. But the expectation is, when you have veterans, which we watched Sean Payton, for the most part, clean house. I mean, he got rid of a lot of the veteran players that we've known and loved on this team, because I think he wanted to rebrand and refresh and rid this Broncos team of the losing culture and any stench that followed it, any players that were a part of the losing era he wanted to kind of get rid of. So in doing that, when you are one of the few vets that he decided to keep around, the pressure's on. Like, you really have to be, we've got to have better performances from guys like Sutton. I don't know. The Sutton Bow thing, I'm hoping, was just a kink in the system. We're going to get an iron out. We're going to iron out the kinks.
Got to do it.
That's what I'm thinking. Thinking we just get
Take
an
to
iron
the dry
out.
cleaner,
I actually don't use irons.
Why?
Because I use wrinkle release Downy. It's just a spray. Much more quick.
And the wrinkles just disappear?
Yep. You spray it. You go. You take it. You go. Hang it up. Let it dry.
Just like that.
And it's perfect. Yep.
See, I was a big fan of the hang it in the bathroom with a steam going on, and the steam will kind of de-wrinkle it a little bit.
Yeah. I just find that doesn't work as well.
It doesn't work very well.
It doesn't. But I have done that before.
Yeah, it works
in
like a little bit.
In like a dire situation.
Yeah.
If I'm like on the road in a hotel room and I take my dress out and it's like looks a mess.
Right.
That's kind of the option there.
Yeah.
Doesn't work, but.
And plus, for me, for like a guy, like nobody really cares that much. You know what I mean?
So you care.
You know, but what I'm saying is they're not looking at your stuff as closely.
That's
if you have
fair.
a couple wrinkles in like the back of your dress shirt when you have a coat on, who cares, right? Nobody can see it.
That's fair.
And actually, with a coat on over, you can barely see any of the wrinkles at all. Right.
That's also fair.
So double standard.
Nathan here likes wrinkles in his shirts. That's what he's trying to say.
No, I don't. But
I actually am just starting rumors.
I digress. the playmaking or lack thereof.
Yeah.
For the Denver Broncos.
Yeah.
Would Tim Patrick have helped the situation today?
I believe so.
Maybe.
No maybes.
Would Jerry Jeudy have helped the situation? No. Although he got in the end zone today.
Stop. I know it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it.
Jeudy.
I don't want to hear it. You know, I will say, I think from a culture perspective, getting rid of Jerry Jeudy was a really great thing for the Denver Broncos. I think that he sucked the life out of the room sometimes. He was kind of a hothead. There were just moments with Jeudy that I was like, hey, I don't know if you're good enough to be acting like a jackwagon right now. But I digress. Judy's no longer a Denver Bronco, so I don't need to spend too much time on it. However, I do think that Jeudy, when he was on, did play explosive. We lacked explosiveness. Like I said, it was like drinking a flat soda today watching this Broncos offense. They'd catch the ball and then just fall over. Like, what are we doing? Are we not making any movements? Are we just going to just lie flat and wait for the game to be over? It just felt like we just did not have, like you said, playmaking, especially from the veteran in Cortland Sutton, who, again, Sutton kind of needs you. Mandatory, actually.
Yeah, 12 targets. So he is your number one guy.
Yep.
No, there's no mistake about it. And he didn't, to me, rise to the occasion there and help out his young quarterback. But the tight end, there was no tight end action. And I thought What's going on?
I forgot to take the label off this water.
Does that matter?
And until they run me a check.
Okay. So Greg Dulcich, 2 catches, 12 yards. Okay. Greg Dulcich had a good camp, a really good camp. Greg Dulcich is supposed to be I wouldn't say the X factor, but an addition to this offense that this offense has missed and needed for a long time.
Yep.
And Sean Payton likes to use the tight end. Jimmy Graham led the NFL in tight end receptions for like 4 straight years when he was in New Orleans. He had 99 catches one year. He loves to use the tight end if he can get a quarterback to hit that guy going down the middle and create some opportunities for him to be open. They're just weren't guys open today. They didn't seem very open. You know, they got some man coverage and they weren't able to free themselves from that. Adam Troutman had 1 target for, 0. He didn't catch the ball. So they had 3 targets to tight ends, 4 targets to tight ends, 2 receptions, 12 yards. That's nothing. Lil Jordan Humphrey had a catch that would have been a first down. That was a big play. That was a 3rd and like 4 or 5. He caught it beyond he hit him in the hands beyond the sticks. It was a very nice throw by Bo, and he dropped it. Now, if Lil Jordan had been in there and they kept Tim Patrick, that's probably Tim Patrick with that ball right there. Tim Patrick probably catches it. So Tim, would have been there in a few moments for Bo, but would it have been enough? My answer is no. It wouldn't have been enough. Tim Patrick out there wouldn't have been enough.
No.
Because it
would have helped.
It would have helped.
That's going to be my lukewarm take. It's not a hot take because if you have a brain in your head, you should agree with me. I do think that there's going to be some major regrets in letting Tim Patrick go.
Well, I mean, to me,
and sadness.
Devon Vele, 8 catches on 8 targets. They were all, 8 for 39 yards. So we only averaged 4.9 yards per play.
Vele was big. He was a pleasant surprise to me today.
Yeah.
I will say that.
So in that regard, it kind of makes you feel okay about ditching Tim because if that's the replacement, that's cool, right? So actually, I don't know if my point about Lil Jordan Humphrey, that being Tim Patrick's ball, would have been accurate. They like Lil Jordan. He was out there last year, and he does have some pretty reliable hands. So that stuff happens, but you don't. But when it happens in times like that, when you need to get the momentum, and it's like I said, as a rookie quarterback, and he's not getting any help from his guys. I don't think the play calling was superb either. So I think that ultimately they're going to have to go back, watch the film, and be critical. And Sean Payton probably will stand in front of the team and say, "Look, I fucked this up too. I got to be better. We all got to be better." And every time like we had a loss like that, Mike Shanahan was very good about saying that kind of stuff. It's not he's not like it's your fault, Liv. You lost it for us. No, he'll call out the guys who messed up. Yeah. But when the coaching was bad, he would own that. And I'm not saying the coaching was bad today, but I think that there's some
team sport.
There's some ways that they can improve, and they're going to. And they have to. That's why Sean Payton was brought here to be good. He's the 2nd highest paid coach in the NFL. He's got to get it figured out. If he doesn't, he won't be here either. So
that's right. Well, it is a team sport, and I do think that what's important to have a healthy culture in the world of football is taking accountability. I think that that's massive. And we actually do have Bo Nix talking about accuracy, which I know, Nate, when we first sat down, you mentioned that Bo Nix was showing some inaccuracies that we didn't see in the preseason. Of course, we know the preseason and the regular season are very different, but we do have a clip of Bo Nix talking about his accuracy. So let's take a listen to what he's got to say about his game.
What we saw from you is that you weren't as accurate today. Balls were behind guys like we're so used to seeing that. Was that a reflection of their pressure or something they were doing first game for you?
Well, we got to go back and look at the film. Obviously, if balls are on the ground, you got to evaluate, how you can change it. But sometimes that's part of the game. They play defense too. They try to get to the ball, and obviously, we didn't hit them all. So that's what we're gonna continue to try to do is go out there and hit them all.
Well, everybody talks about the 12s and the crowd noise. How was the atmosphere? How did you find that?
I thought we handled it really well. I think there was one down in the red zone that was, start of a drive after a turnover that, was unfortunate. Stuff like that can't happen. But we bounced back, got a field goal, and didn't let it bother us the rest of the game.
The first half when you had the ball at the 20 to start and ball at the 9, only came away with field goals. Feel like that's where maybe the game got away from you or why you ended up on the short end?
No, we were winning going into halftime, and we had a chance there at the end.
All right, really important. I got to mention
Please.
before I forget. So Bo Nix started that off. Troy Rank asked him about his inaccuracy,
Mm-hmm.
and that was kind of not what they had seen out of him in camp and stuff like that. And he said, he's going to have to take a look at the film, and that's just ball. What I heard there was that there might have been some miscommunication with the receivers. Like I was telling you before, nuance to routes where I'm trying to throw you open and you're not seeing that. You're just running the route and you're not seeing where the coverage is and you're just going right into it. Well, Bo's hoping that they throttle down in situations or adjust the route and create some nuance and some feel for the moment that the playbook doesn't show you. The playbook shows you how the distance to run your route and the angle to cut it. Well, the football moment requires you sometimes to do different things. And sometimes football players can become robotic. And it looked to me like Cortland was a little robotic out there.
So he needs to...
Mr. Roboto out there.
Mr. Roboto.
I don't want to put this all on Cortland. This is just an offense that hasn't gelled. And when you have limited time in training camp and you have limited time in the offseason and only 3 preseason games, you only get a couple reps during that, and you're splitting the reps with 3 quarterbacks, trying to figure out, and you name one with it. These guys just don't play together well yet. And you hope that they do, and you hope these are the guys to do it. But we don't know yet. And we're not going to know probably until halfway through this season.
I think that Bo, just the clip that we just listened to, he spoke very professionally. That was a pretty good, hey, taking some accountability here. But I do think that I don't think you want Broncos fans to panic.
Oh, no.
Because at this point, I think Sean Payton, I guess my question for you is, how many losing seasons before Sean Payton's in trouble?
Well, I'll tell you, if he has a bad season this year. Now, losing seasons, there's context to, is it a 3-14 or is it 8-9?
How many more seasons do Broncos fans have to endure where they would rather pull the eyeballs out of their face, rip their hair out, and potentially set all of their jerseys on fire before Sean Payton is out of the Mile High City? Okay, so you are in the back of the minivan. We're going to Disneyland, and you're like, are we there yet? Are we there yet? Yeah, I've asked 47 times.
We're going to Disneyland, Liv. It takes a little bit longer to get there than just going to Elitch, okay?
I didn't realize Disneyland was in Japan.
It's not.
I feel like I've gotten on a plane, a boat, a taxi cab, a minivan, and a subway.
You have. And it might require a couple more forms of transportation and some patience, right?
I have none.
I totally understand that. I mean, Broncos fans have been suffering since Peyton Manning left. Something happened when Peyton Manning left. There was a sort of an energetic sort of vacuum.
We sold our souls. That's what it was.
Maybe there's some karmic retribution going on. But I think also the idea that the idea of Peyton Manning, right? Peyton Manning was not just a unicorn. He was like the 3-horned albino unicorn. This guy was so rare.
He was a tricorn.
So rare. The things that Peyton Manning did for the organization, for an offense, that when he left, the idea was we got to replace Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
We haven't been able to do it since.
No.
And you're never going to be able to. Peyton Manning is never going to be replaced.
That is a fair statement.
Okay? What you need is a guy who can be himself, who can fall in and be a member of a team, and they can be good together. You're never going to get a guy who comes here at 37 years old and is like the perfect combination and perfect storm of experience and spite and motivation and all this stuff that Peyton brought at that time. It's not happening again. The Broncos need to start from the ground and build something up. That's what they're doing right now. But your question was about Sean Payton and how long he can suck before his ass is on the hot seat too, before there's a Bunsen burner turned on underneath his tushy.
On high.
Okay?
Yep.
And I would say if this year turns out to be a 4-13 year, then there will be questions about Sean Payton. If it turns out to be 8-9 and you see steady improvement, then it'll feel like it's going in the right direction. Now you can absolve all of that and just turn it into a 9-8 or 10-7 season, and then obviously you'll be moving in the right direction. But I think the play of Bo Nix and how he evolves this year is going to reflect on Sean Payton's decision making, his judgment, and his coaching, because he is banking on Bo Nix being his guy.
Believe it or not, we have our very own bestie friend BK in the house, live from Seattle. BK, tell us about the atmosphere out there. What are you feeling? Are you in panic mode yet, or are you feeling like this is just us, the Broncos, getting the kinks out? How are you feeling, BK? Oh, no sound from BK, you know.
How you feeling, BK?
Yeah, how you feeling, BK?
Sorry, we
Not a
couldn't hear
whole
you,
lot
buddy.
of feelings there for BK. It's all right. He's going to figure that out. As per usual, we miss our friend. He's out there in Seattle getting us some sound bites, getting us some interview clips, and we're going to get his take on just the atmosphere there. What did he see to the naked eye? Because that's obviously a little different than what we see when we watch on our television screens. We've got a comment up there that says 2 years of bad luck with Wilson gone. Bo is the future. Okay. So
Yeah.
maybe we don't have as much panic erupting as I thought maybe we would. Oh, here he is. BK,
Okay.
turn your mic on.
Yeah, I was muted. I guess you just have to hit unmute. And it was, anyway, we're not going to get into that. You said, am I panicked? I'm not panicked. I think it's just frustrating, I imagine, because Broncos fans are so excited with the promise of what Bo Nix showed in preseason and what he maybe can be or potentially will be. But he's still a rookie going against a really good defensive play caller. And I think that at times his team and Sean Payton was quick to say, hey, we didn't block well enough. They dropped the ball a few more times than we would have liked. So his guys weren't helping him. You don't want him throwing it 42 times. I think it's going to be an interesting test, too, because next week you get Mike Tomlin and the Steelers and that good defense. You get Todd Bowles, a defensive-minded coach. You get Robert Saleh. He's going to have 4 weeks of really tough, complicated, complex-looking defenses. But I'm not panicked. You just want to see incremental improvement. And you did see them continue to fight and at least make it interesting late.
BK. So from here, you know, we watched the defense playing well in the first half. We watched them creating opportunities, a couple of safeties. We watched the special teams creating a turnover, but the offense felt pretty anemic. It felt like the same offense we had been watching from the Broncos the past, 5, 6, 7 years, just rinky dink, dinky dunk, 3 yards here, 4 yards there. What was your feel in the stadium being there as to why this offense couldn't get going?
Well, why couldn't you go? And they weren't able to run the ball. And when you can't run the ball, then you're going to be behind the sticks. And that's what Sean talked about post-game. They're 3rd and 8, way too much, 3rd and 8 or longer. And then they know you're passing. They can dial up exotics, or they can just get clever with their coverages and disguise a bunch of stuff. Saw Richard Sherman tweet that. And so I think that it was easy to sit there in the press box, or if you're sitting at home, everybody in Broncos is going to be like, oh, it's more of the same. Can they even get to 20 points? Oh, they got to 20 points late, but it ultimately doesn't matter. So I think are we going to see the improvement? Because we know how creative Sean Payton can be as a play caller, and he's going to continue to try to make things as easy as possible and make Bo not only look good, but execute plays that his athleticism and his arm talent will allow him to make, and maybe try to keep him out of tough spots. But it was easy to sit there and say, oh, a new year, but same Broncos anemic offense that we've seen. It's so hard week 1 to hit the panic button. At the same time, you look, the Seahawks were doing all they could to try to give this game away, and the Broncos just couldn't capitalize on it early.
Well, BK, I know you've got to run and catch a flight so that you can get your tush back here to Denver and join us tomorrow in the studio for another off-field. So we appreciate your time. And I do just want to give you a quick little shout out. Shout out to you for the Kenneth Walker III touchdown that cashed. I know you talked about that on Friday. So congratulations there. I know you and Nate didn't get your Broncos money line, but
I thought the under was going to be crushing, and it wasn't. But anyway, I got to run, guys.
Anyway,
I'll see you.
BK,
okay.
Thank you for joining us. We'll see you in the studio tomorrow. Thank you so much, you guys. Our friend BK, he's such a funny guy, isn't he?
He's a funny guy.
BK and Nate bicker like brothers, and I'm just the mediator and the cool one. Sorry, I had to throw that in there.
Super cool.
Yeah, super the coolest, actually. I do think BK makes a great point that, you know, naturally what we see on TV, kicking back at home, probably feels okay, this is a very small example and very, very different, I might add. This is a very different situation. But I was just talking today with my brother about the fact that I went to that, I believe it was a Monday night game, that Monday night Bengals-Bills game with Damar Hamlin. I was in the stadium from that. And even just talking to him today about his perspective from being at home, because you've got the reporters that are saying what they think is going on, but you also have that up angle and you can see that there's some distress. But when you're in the stadium, we had no idea. We just kind of felt the air get sucked out of the stadium. And it was a very horrible, horrible thing to experience. But it is very different, I think, when you're in it and you can feel it and you can hear the noise and you can see the composure and also you can see the sidelines. I think there is so much, and I think I'm very, very excited for you to be kind of immersed in the sideline world this year, off and on, from going up to going down and being like immersed in that, because I do think you can get a really big read on energy, excitement, conversations that are being had, who's kind of stepping up as the leader on the sidelines and initiating the pep talks and getting everybody hyped. I think when you miss those things and you're just seeing the score and you're seeing the lack of scoring, it can be pretty defeating. But I do think when you're in it and you're there, it maybe didn't feel as panicky as maybe it did from home as a fan.
Yeah. And when you're there, you get to watch whatever you want, and when you're watching on TV, they follow the ball.
Yep.
And cut to commercial and, up close on the coach's face and up close on the quarterback. Well, like you said, when you're there by yourself or you're there in person, you can watch the sideline. You can feel the energy. You can hear the lulls or the waves of, you can feel one sideline get hyped more than the other. And, Sean Payton talked today about the momentum that changes. And you can feel that in a football game much, much more effectively when you're there. Right. And so the Broncos are going to learn from this. It's going to be a great learning experience for them. A young team like this. Look, the Broncos, I think, Sean Payton, George Payton, Greg Penner, they are ready for this. They're not super surprised by this, I don't think, and they got to accept that this is part of the long game here, to go and have experiences like this, go into the Lions' den, lose a tough game, make some bad mistakes, not play well, go back and watch the film. When you play poorly, you go back and watch the film, you learn a lot. You learn a lot from your mistakes. You don't learn as much when you win. You learn when you lose. You learn when you go and prepare to win, and then you think the thing you think is going to work doesn't. Well, why not? And we got to be critical with one another. Thick skin is important here. You can't take this personally. You're here for a reason, but I'm going to tell you exactly what the fuck you did wrong here. And I'm going to not going to parse words with it, Liv. I'm going to tell you exactly what you did. And they're going to do that to everyone in the room, as they should. And then they're going to learn from it and grow from it. And I think the thing with Bo, the thing they like about Bo is that he is resilient and he's going to take that coaching and get better. Yeah. He's not going to wilt from that. He's not going to get all down on himself and sad well, you don't like me anymore. Like, what happened, coach? Like, I thought we were cool.
I thought we were besties.
Yeah, no, he's going to be like, because you saw him there. He was stoic, right?
Yeah.
He wasn't moping. He knows what to say.
Time. He knows it's week 1 of they've got 17 more weeks of football that they've got to lock in for.
So I'm confident they're going to learn from this, come back, and put a much better offensive product on the field next week against Pittsburgh at home, and learn from this experience.
I do think it's really important to note that film is very important. I have a little thing that I do after every show that I film in this studio. I replay my shows in the car as I'm driving down the interstate to go home. And I am my toughest critic. I'm harder on myself than any of you internet trolls could ever be on me.
Before are you like, come on, Liv, what are you doing?
Yeah, I get very disappointed in myself. Like little things, like if I say too much, or if I don't articulate a question the right way, or if I feel like in an interview with an athlete or whoever, I don't ask the one thing that I felt like people wanted to know, or whatever it may be. I am very critical of myself, but I think you have to be in order to be better tomorrow than you were yesterday. So I think that you're exactly right. We're going to see these athletes get in the film room, dissect the game. And I do think the biggest issue we saw from the Denver Broncos offense against Seattle was just miscommunication across the board. Bo was not perfect. Sutton was not perfect. Our defense was pretty solid. But to your point earlier, you've got to capitalize on moments where your defense cuts you a break. We didn't do that. Our defense cut us a lot of breaks and we couldn't capitalize off of them. I'm sorry. I don't wear blue and orange to watch field goals and safeties every Sunday. I don't. Actually, I'd rather watch paint dry.
That would be more fun, wouldn't it?
I think so. Unfortunately, I do. I do think it would be more fun. So I would like to see a little bit of offense. I'd like to see what we saw in the preseason. And I know it wasn't against the starting defenses that we know we're going to face way more of with the weeks to come. There's going to be some really tough defensive opponents we've got to face, and our offense needs to figure out how do you adapt and how do you push past that. And I know that the preseason offense that we saw was exciting because they were just getting in the end zone. Seems like a very simple thing, but it's something we've been lacking in Denver for quite some time.
Broncos were 1-4 in the red zone today, so they had their chances,
Yep.
and they weren't able to punch it in. And that was the difference between the preseason and what we saw today, is that, the defense did create some turnovers in the preseason, and they had some opportunities, and they punched it in. They punched that ball in the end zone, and they didn't
put that ball right where it goes.
Yep, and they couldn't do that today. And, they got to find, Bo has to find that guy that
Find your guy, Bo.
Find your guy that you look for in the end zone, and that's a work in progress, and it could take some time. So patience. It's not fun to have it as someone who's been waiting for a long time to watch the Broncos get out of this hole. But you got to have confidence that you got the right guy in charge in Sean Payton, and you got your right guy at quarterback at Bo Nix, and there's going to be some growing pains there, but you want to see more. You want to see more, and to make a point, on what BK said about running the football, you got to run the football more because that takes pressure off of Bo Nix. We don't want Bo Nix throwing the ball 42 times.
We talked about that before the season started.
Yeah,
you said that was crucial to set a rookie quarterback up for success, was to have a solid, reliable run game, and we barely used it today.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, and so I would go back to the drawing board, try to get Javonte Williams more involved in some traditional runs from scrimmage, hand him the ball, a little bit less of a reliance on Jaleel McLaughlin's gadget, sort of capabilities, and then trying to get Cortland and Bo Nix on the same page, and then just committing to the run and then stay in the course. Also, what you don't want to do after a tough loss is go, okay, everything we did is wrong. We got to change everything.
Right.
Like that's what losers do.
We don't have time for that.
No. And for a guy like Sean Payton, who, coached for 14 years and had so much success, he trusts his routine and his process. So he's not going to go back and say everything was wrong. What he's going to say is, no, we had the right plan. We just have to execute it better.
Execution.
Right? We just have to do a little bit better job executing it. There's the nuance and the little stuff around it. Our plan is good. Our philosophy is good. We have the right guys in the room. We just have to get moving in the right direction and play a little better together. And so that's refreshing to hear as a player. You don't want to go in there and be like, oh my God, like we're changing everything.
Everything sucks.
Yeah, like we're going to start meeting 30 minutes earlier now, and we're going to practice 20 minutes later, and we're going to lift harder and longer. And what? Like what happened to all that? Like you don't trust your own process, coach. So the process is going to stay the same. We're going to trust who we are, who we have in this room, what we're doing. We'll get back to the drawing board. That's a beautiful thing about sports and football. There's always next week. So you go and watch the film, and then you flush it, and then you're on to the Steelers.
On to the next. I say before we wrap up this live show, we take a few questions from the chat on the screen. Maybe it's questions, maybe it's just comments, hot takes, opinions. I saw one that said Bo Nix equals no Nix earlier. That feels a little negative, Mr. BM, but you are entitled to your opinion. And
BM?
Yeah, that's the initials.
Bowel movement?
Maybe. Or
Mr. BM.
Or
I'm just kidding, BM.
BM, we love you. Don't listen to this guy. You know what? Just his name is Nathan.
Mr. BM.
So don't worry about it. But yeah, we'll take some questions and some comments. If you guys have anything that you want us to talk about, we do.
Got a Bo clip.
We do. We have a Bo clip. We've been spending a lot of time talking about Bo Nix and the offense, and he was asked about his inaccuracies earlier. He was asked about the 12th man, the noise out in Seattle, and now we got another clip of Bo. So let's figure out what he's talking about and what he has to say now.
They're at the end.
What were your emotions of the day in general?
It was a challenge. It was a tough day. It was they didn't make it easy on us, that's for sure. But like I said, we competed. We went down and scored there at the end. And gave ourselves a chance to win, and we were, an inch away on a, almost batted ball that Riley Moss made an incredible play on that they just, made a better play. So it's tough. You got to give them credit, but we battled and we continue to fight, and that's, those are the emotions of today. That we got a competitive team. We got a team that's not going to quit, and we're going to put everything on the line. And no matter if it's, ugly start. we're going to continue to find ways to finish.
I guess, personally, you said earlier in the week you only did your one NFL, your first start once. How were you through the morning?
Yeah, well, you only get it once, and game went back and forth, and so, overall got to continue to find ways to be efficient and get first downs and not stay in first, second, third down off the field. Kept getting 3 and out. So, things to learn from for sure, but they're not all perfect.
Were you nervous?
No, I felt confident going in the game. I thought we, continued to battle.
Tell us about those nerves.
Were you nervous?
Were you nervous? Did you have those jitterbugs
He laughed at him.
pregame? He says, ha,
Nerves.
as if.
That was kind
you
of a
dork.
That was kind of a Russell Wilson. I don't get nervous. I don't know if you remember
Yeah,
Russell
I'm
said
above
that.
I'm above nerves.
No, I
I'm
think
above butterflies.
Yeah, it's okay to be nervous, but obviously you're not going to mention that being a reason why, because we all get nervous. We get out there after the first time you get hit or after the first couple plays, you're not nervous anymore. You're just playing and you're dealing with the reality of the situation. But I think he's right about guys being resilient and not quitting. Now, it could have easily gotten out of hand there, right? With a lesser team, a team that didn't believe that it had a chance, it could have ended up 34-13 or whatever, right? So I think there is some solace in seeing the Broncos were fighting back or trying to make this happen and didn't concede. Oh, it's over. We're down 2 touchdowns. It's over. So the rookie quarterback kind of led them in an emotional moment, even though it didn't result in a win. There was a belief for a moment. Are we going to be able to do it? He led him to on a touchdown drive, and they had a chance to stop him and get the ball back. And like he said, Riley Moss missed trying to bat that ball down. Again, Riley Moss, 12 tackles today. He's going to be a focal point. He's going to get a lot of action.
Yep.
That guy opposite PS2 is going to get the smoke. So he has to be ready for it like he was today. And it's going to be every week for Riley Moss. And it's going to come down to plays like that, where it's Riley Moss and a receiver, and either Riley makes the play or the receiver does. And if Riley makes the play, we get the ball back trying to win the game. And if Riley doesn't, and it's that, and he misses it by a millimeter, then it's a first down, game over. And that's what happened today. So it is a game of inches. Riley's an inexperienced player too. We talk about Bo Nix. Riley was a rookie last year, was hurt most of the year, hasn't played corner, never started a game at corner.
Right.
And here he is starting his first game at cornerback opposite the corner who just signed the most lucrative defensive back deal in the history of the league, and everyone's scared of him. And here's Riley over here. So
He might take some pressure off of PS2 a little bit.
PS2 has pressure on him? Riley's got the pressure on him.
Yeah, but I think that, don't you think that other teams go into games against the Broncos and they're like, I'm going to make that PS2 guy look like he's...
No, not really.
Or do you just think he's established himself as just that guy?
Every once in a while, you saw him go after him a couple times with DK. But
Yeah.
what he had 3 catches for 34 yards on him or something like that?
I actually made a comment while sitting on my living room couch, and I said, listen, if I were PS2 and I had all this money and I knew I was that guy, and coach said, hey, you're on DK tonight, I would take one good look at DK and say, I don't feel good, coach. I don't think so. DK looks ginormous.
He's scary.
I'm sorry. I don't know if it's the nose ring and the combination with the muscles and the speed and the physicality. That dude, pick any other guy in the NFL for me to cover. I do not want DK Metcalf.
But here's the thing: as a corner, you're covering a guy like that. He's all muscle and all speed, but he's not shifty necessarily.
I'm still scared though.
He's strong because he'll bully you, but you can stay with him. And a guy like PS2 is very strong and pretty big himself. So he handled DK Metcalf pretty well today.
He did great. And this is why I don't play in the NFL.
Well, Champ Bailey, famously, when Champ was at his height here, he had, I forget, he had 10, I don't know, 10, 11, 12 picks one year or something like that. But he was only targeted 30 times the whole season. They didn't throw at Champ. And because he's so good, so they went the other side. And PS2 is going to get that kind of treatment. Sometimes they will go after him, but for the most part, they're not. Because if I'm a quarterback, do I want to throw it over here with PS2, or do I want to throw it over there with Riley Moss, who's basically a rookie?
Yeah, pretty much.
I'm probably going to go over there.
Young buck.
And when it's on the line, the game's on the line, I need a catch. Probably going to go over here on the inexperienced corner. So that's going to.
Am I gonna pass over here with the highest paid DB in history, isn't it? Or am I going to go over here to this young buck that I don't really know much about yet and like, whatever. No, it's fair point. It really is.
Yeah.
He does have the pressure for sure. Do you think he can handle it?
TBD.
Time will tell.
It will.
Time will tell. Final thoughts here. I had a thought, just lost it. We did have a comment on the screen that said, "What happens if we go 0-3?" It's another year, baby.
What happens? I mean,
another year in Denver that we just got to kind of
you cross
ride
that
through, man.
You cross that bridge
when you get there,
right? And we're not thinking about that. We're thinking about week 2. And in fact, right now we're thinking about what just happened. We're going to be thinking about that tonight. We're going to be thinking about that tomorrow.
Dream about it.
And then by the time Tuesday comes around, we are going to flush it and we're going to move on. And by Wednesday, we come back to work. And guess what? There's a new game plan sitting in front of us. And it does not say Seattle Seahawks. We never talk about that game again. We're moving on to the Steelers. How do we beat this team? That's the beauty of the NFL. Okay, so there's teams who just lost today who are going to have fine seasons. There's teams who won who are going to suck.
That's true. That's why they say that there's a lot of overreactions in week 1.
A lot of overreactions. Great to get a first week win, though. I'm not saying, of course. But the Broncos were in a tough situation there in Seattle, and they played well for Mike McDonald there. And so the Broncos have to go back to the drawing board, find a way to get this offense going. I thought the defense played pretty well. Thought the special teams played pretty well. We just got to get the offense going.
Get them going.
Yeah.
Why not just get yourselves going, offense? Because it's feeling eerily similar. It's feeling like deja vu, but I also know it's only week 1. And unfortunately, the eerie feeling that I feel deep in my stomach of like, oh, what's going on? That feeling last year lasted all season long. It's only week 1. Let's try not to overreact. Let's try not to panic. There's still time for this offense to figure itself out. I think we oftentimes as fans put a little too much pressure on, specifically for Broncos fans this season. Is our rookie quarterback who just was named captain going to be great? When really the conversation should be, as Nate mentioned, what is our gelled offense going to look like? Because they're not going to be gelled right from the jump. We didn't see everybody suit up in the preseason. We didn't get to see, the best defenses up against our offense. So it may take a second for this chemistry to be built. I think they've got a great established culture, but I think the chemistry, what we saw today with Bo Nix, was miscommunications with his playmakers, and in having that, there were plays not being made.
Yeah.
So I think we got to give them a second, let them adjust, let them find their rhythm. Now, if we go 0-3, we may have to start worrying about what is the future of this. Have we made any progress forward?
I don't even think that's true.
I do.
I think 0-3. I think we've got this season to see what we've got.
Come on.
Okay.
I can't do this again.
0-3 would suck.
Do this again.
But we just got to keep rolling. And
you're going to have a walking stick, an oxygen tank, and a whole head of gray hair, and you're still going to be telling me, I think we got to
have some
give
patience.
It one more season.
In the immortal words of JFK, ask not what Bo Nix can do for you. Ask what you can do for Bo Nix. That's what the team should be asked.
Oh, I thought you meant me. I'm like,
no.
I could take another shot maybe when I watch. I could chuck my remote at my TV. Sometimes I believe if I scream loud enough that the team can hear me.
I think they can.
I think so too.
Yeah. They can feel it.
You're the uniform guy, so you need to start yelling.
I'll be down there.
Loud.
That's why I'm going to be down there on Sunday. I'm going to make sure these guys win. And if
you go, hey, they come over. They're like, what's wrong with my outfit? No, that was just a shitty play. Figure it out.
Something like that.
Sean Payton's like, hey, buddy, you're not a coach.
Situationally.
You're not on the coaching staff, bud. Shut up.
Yeah.
Is it offensive when other grown men call you buddy?
Nah.
I know somebody that gets very rubbed sideways by that. They don't like it.
When someone calls me boss, though, I think it's funny. I just go, you're fired.
Of course you do. Such a dad joke thing for you to do right there.
Whatever you say, boss, clean out your locker. You're done. You're
so
done.
If another grown man came up to you and was like, all right, buddy, like you wouldn't be.
If you said it like that, all antagonistic or like, okay, buddy, was like, hey, buddy, like, I don't know. What's up, bud?
I do think delivery matters.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
My final question for you before we end this, because we have been live for about an hour. Thanks for hanging with us and being here. We've had some interview clips from Sean Payton, Bo Nix. We got to hear from BK, who was live in Seattle and headed back home to Denver so we can go live again tomorrow at 2 p.m. Mountain Time to discuss a week 1 recap as well as we're going to have Nate actually break down some specific moments in the Broncos-Seattle's game that he feels like were game changers. Where did we flip the script? Where did things go sideways? What things were really great? We're going to have him really look at that under a microscope from a former football brain, for you football nerds out there that want the X's and O's and you want to be able to see what we're talking about. We're going to have Nate do that tomorrow. I'm thinking the game changer. Every week I'm going to ask him, what's the game changer? What was the moment? Either the momentum switched or we lost control or we turned things around. So we're going to have Nate do that for us tomorrow, 2 p.m. Mountain Time. We're going to cut BK's mic. We're going to cut my mic. Nobody else is talking. It's just Nate Jackson on the microphone. Okay. So we've got that coming tomorrow. But before we go, Nate.
Yes.
I think in watching Bo Nix's clip just now, he was very poised. He said the right things. He made sure to let fans know, or anybody listening, we know what we need to fix. We're not worried. We're good. We're not going down without a fight. My question for you as a former player, can defenses, offenses, you name it, can a football team sense when they are playing an insecure football team?
Yeah, but I don't think the Broncos are one of them.
They're not.
No.
That's what I'm saying. I think that's why it's so important that Bo Nix spoke the way he did. Like, we're good. We're chilling.
But I think that it's really hard to find an insecure pro football player.
I think the Broncos were pretty insecure last year as a whole.
Last year?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think Russell Wilson is an insecure person.
Right. And don't you think that the sharks in the water could smell the blood and be like,
probably
oh, this guy's
a little
going
bit,
down?
yeah. But for the most part, I've never, I've rarely been around pro athletes who lacked confidence or belief in themselves. What you got to get is them moving in the same direction at the same time.
As a unit.
Because like everybody's good, man. Everybody in the NFL is good. Mm-hmm. Every roster is good. They're full of the best football players on the planet.
Unless you're the Carolina Panthers.
Them, yes.
Sorry, I'm still a little salty about that plus 3.5. To be honest with you, Nate, I don't know if Bryce Young might go down as the saddest thing ever.
He's like a little tiny guy.
Tiny guy, but tiny guy, and also what the hell?
It's not going well for Bryce.
Not at all.
No.
Anyway, sorry.
So anyway, I think the Broncos are fine. They're in fine shape. It didn't look great today. You learned a lot. Yep. They're gonna get back to the drawing board, check out the film relative to, and they'll be fine. They'll bounce back, and we're fixing to find out. But you take it one game at a time, Liv, and you don't overreact.
No overreactions.
I like Bo's press conference. I like his demeanor there. Mm-hmm. He's not overreacting himself. Nope. He expected more, but he also is not going to wallow. He has a lot of confidence, as you can tell, and he's not going to let it be shaken by a bad outing or questions from reporters suggesting that he's lost his accuracy or whatever. So Bo Nix is going to be fine. Broncos are going to be fine.
It just may take time, and that's the part that I don't like that you keep saying over and over again, is that I need patience.
Well,
I don't like it. Are we there yet? Are we there? You're going to hear that a lot.
You'll be happy when we get to Disneyland.
I have had my Mickey Mouse ears on for a decade. So I am ready to pull up to the parks. All right. But anyways, you guys, we are going to be doing this every post Broncos game. We'll either be live. I will either be live in studio at the arena with the fellas, or even from my home studio. But either way, you guys will have a post game live reaction where I will be here. Nate will be involved in some capacity. BK will also be involved, whether it's, hey, BK's in Seattle. Hey, BK, Nate's got a interview clip from so-and-so, and he's at the stadium as well. We're going to have coverage for you, live reactions, just talking through what did we just witness? How are we feeling? This is a safe space, everybody. Broncos country. This is a safe space, but it's also, we're not just these crazy fans that are going to blow smoke up the Broncos' butts every week and talk about all the beautiful things we see. We're going to keep it real. That's what we do around here, I would like to say. We're keeping it real. We're having a good time. We're talking through all of our emotions and feelings so that we can all sleep peacefully tonight and get things off our chest. So we appreciate you tons for being here. We'll be live again next weekend after the Steelers game. I will actually be at the Steelers game. So we'll figure out where I will be live from. I'll probably just pop over to the studio afterwards. So just expect that after the final whistle, give us a little bit of time to get things set up, and we'll be delivering you guys a live show. Thank you so much for being here. Go Broncos. Go Nate, go BK, and
go Live.
Thanks. We'll be back, Broncos country, Let's ride.
Let's ride.
And we'll see you tomorrow, 2 p.m. Mountain Time, for a week 1 recap, as well as some X's and O's, the game-changing plays from Nate Jackson right here in the studio on the show. So don't go anywhere. Make sure you're subscribed, following, all the things. We love you, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye.
Later.